Welcome to Moose Plays, everyone. I'm the Liquor Moose, and today we'll be going over my Week 4 team builder for the 10th season of the UPA. For this week, we will be going up against my good pal, Ben AKA ShinySableye17, coach of the Baltimore Oriolus. And yeah, so this is a pretty big division game. I'm currently, Ben and I are in the same division. I'm currently 2-1, Ben is 3-0. So this is probably about as important as a Week 4 game can play, and I know Ben's looking for a lot of revenge because I beat him in our GPC game a while back on what he claims to be a bad move on my part. I disagree, but either way, we've had that argument before. Yeah, what's really unfortunate though is that there's kind of a few things. For one, I kind of know what it is. I kind of had a lack of motivation to build this week. For one, I think part of that stems with I'm not very happy with my team, and then finally Ben just has the very superior matchup against me. So maybe that's the reason why I'm not really liking my team right now. But yeah, I don't know. Either way, there's a lot that went into this, but let's just go over Ben's team and show you just how bad my matchup is. So anyways, Ben drafted Megaane, Zapdos, Suicune, Latias, Nidoqueen, Registeel, Hawlucha, Tapu Bulu, Magneton, Liepard, and Magcargo, with his Z move users being Latias and Tapu Bulu. So there's a lot going on here. Obviously, when you look at Megaane, you look at your Megaane answers, I probably have the best one in the game in Mew, so that wasn't that big of an issue. The problem is Zapdos and Suicune. Those two things are way too fat for the majority of my team to handle. And then with that, on top of like everything else that Ben has, it was very difficult for me to pin a Scarfer that I wanted to bring to the match. So, so yeah, it was kind of a struggle in team building that made me really fed up with team building. And then on top of that, Hawlucha just kind of goes nuts against my team if it gets unburdened. I mean, it's kind of like that to most teams, but I really do not have the best Hawlucha answers. I'm not going to lie. And even like with Mew, like it's already my Mega Lopunny answer, so Lopunny has to go down for one. And for two, like when two huge physical threats are putting so much pressure on one Pokemon, eventually one of them is going to break through it, which means that both of them are just going to go crazy on my team. So yeah, I kind of have to play conservatively with Mew, but honestly, other than Mew, I have to play pretty aggressively in the match in general. I almost wanted Scizor for this matchup, but then he has that stupid Magneton to trap it. I have to basically be max specially defensive to have a chance at not getting knocked out at max special attack and power fire. So that kind of went out the window, even though I really wanted Pivot. Pivot was really nice in this match too, like any kind of momentum stuff, but like it just like the rest of my team, the way like I like my momentum, but like the way my team is constructed at the moment, like just my roster in general, pivot is better when you have like dedicated bulky like defensive stuff, and right now my roster is not really flush with that, so a lot of the pivot kind of has to go out the door, which is really unfortunate. So I'm going to have to get aggressive with my switches and try to call Ben's switches, because Ben does like to play sort of aggressively now. He used to like playing with momentum, now he's just like calling doubles left and right. So I'm going to have to call that, unfortunately. But yeah, that's enough rambling about the matchup. I just need to go over the team that I built. So first off, we have our Crobat, which is, funnily enough, my dedicated Tapu Bulu response. Yes, Tapu Bulu does get Zen Headbutt, but looking at Bulu's matchup compared to my roster, Zen Headbutt is definitely not the coverage move he is choosing to hit Crobat. It's definitely Stone Edge, which is why we have Charty Berry. And then Brave Bird can dent it back, but past that we do have Roost, Super Fang, and Taunt. As with Registeel here, unfortunately I did need Super Fang, otherwise I would have loved to have U-Turn on this. But to an extent, I also need Super Fang for Suicune as well, as that can be really annoying, especially if he gets Scald Burn with Brave Bird. Brave Birds aren't doing too much to it, but with Taunt, Super Fang, Roost, I'll hopefully be able to compete with it 1v1. Again, I really hate losing to Suicune, so knowing my luck, I've prepped a little bit too much for it, and then Ben just won't bring it. But yeah, the speed's here for the Hawlucha, and then the rest put into physical defense. Pretty straightforward set here, but in my opinion, definitely probably one of the best brings on the team. Another really good bring on this team is Life Orb Mienshao. I really thought I wanted to have this Scarf, but the power difference between having Life Orb and not just is like night and day. With Life Orb, I'm able to 2-hit KO Max HP Suicune, and I'm able to 2-hit KO Max HP Zapdos with High Jump Kick and Stone Edge respectively. And then we have Poison Jab to be able to hit the top of Bulu, and then Fake Out is kind of priority / breaking sashes, as well as kind of being the safe play. It's close. I might want Knockoff here, and I might change it before the match, but yeah, right now I have Fake Out. Like, Knockoff or U-turn were really close, more so Knockoff than U-turn. Life Orb Regenerator Mienshao does look really, really good in this match. It looks to have like a lot of breaking power. It's just I'm not too sure right now about the Fake Out, but it might be necessary just because of all of Ben's fast threats. But yeah, pretty straightforward set here. The speed is for his base 100 is Zapdos. I really don't know if Zapdos is going to be running max speed, so I'm creeping his Zapdos. That's creeping my my Kyurem. So yeah, pretty straightforward Mienshao set. Next up, we do have our Mew, which is pretty obviously my dedicated switch into Mega Lopunny. No Will-O-Wisp on this because I kind of expect, like, it's pretty common tech now for Mew to have Will-O-Wisp to be able to hit the Mega Lopunny. So I kind of expect Ben to run Facade. Hopefully he runs Facade over Return. If he runs both, that's a little bit worse for me, but I mean, then worst case he's just missing out on another move that he could potentially have, excuse me. So yeah, no Will-O-Wisp looks weird on Mew, but I do have my reasons for it. Psychic to be able to hit the Mew, Softwell for recovery. We are Roar, so that way Suicune can't set up on us, like, just in front of our faces. And I was struggling to fit a Rocker into the matchup in general, and I was already kind of struggling to fit my last move onto Mew regardless. I thought about Toxic. It didn't really seem correct, because if I'm Roar anyways, then that's the way I don't lose to either Vincoon or Crowcoon. So having Roar is fine there, or having Roar is fine over Toxic there. Someone suggested Knockoff, which maybe I am missing out on, but like just with how like I was trying to construct this team, and with me not being able to fit another Rocker into the match, I just thought, like, even though it's kind of like quote unquote frowned upon to have rocks on Mew, like I just could not fit the other potential rockers onto my roster this week. So I ended up putting Stealth Rocks on Mew because I was already having trouble. Fitting, like, deciding what the last move on Mew should be anyways. But yeah, so the speed is here for max speed Suicune in case that shows up, and then the rest put into physical defense. Pretty straightforward set. Next up we have Specs Rotom, because Specs Rotom actually can bop Ben's team pretty hard. Thunderbolt's a guaranteed 2-hit KO on Suicune that takes the Thunderbolt and then hits Calm Mind. It's noteworthy that, like, maybe I should be... No, I kind of feel like I need to be modest just to be able to specifically bop the Nidoqueen, as, like, this can bop max HP Nidoqueen, and then if it's specially defensive, it can still 2-hit KO. With Overheat, and then Volt Switch Thunderbolt's pretty obvious. I mean, Suicune's there, and plus just general stab. And then Hidden Power Ice for not only the Nidoqueen in case I don't want to lock myself into Overheat, but also I needed to hit the Latias, because right now that thing kind of walls Rotom to an extent, especially if it has recovery. So yeah, pretty straightforward. I'm creeping a... oh my goodness, I'm creeping a modest... Oh, come on. I'm creeping a modest Nidoqueen. That's right. Hopefully I don't get bit in the ass and by not creeping the Suicune, but I'll be honest, between like roaring it out with Mew, with Mienshao being able to theoretically 2-hit KO max HP with high jump kick, and then also having like Taunt Super Fang on Crobat, I'm hoping that me not creeping the Suicune with my Rotom Heat isn't going to be that big of a deal. Next up we have Kyurem. This is, I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of the point in the team building where like I started to get a little bit fed up with my matchup, because I felt Kyurem should be here like 100%, just because like it can kind of like, it's kind of like my best switch into Zapdos, and then as well being able to Toxicate is fine. Hopefully Ben doesn't have Substitute on the Zapdos, because that would be really annoying. But yeah, and then also being able to sort of pivot into Nidoqueen that doesn't carry a rock move would be nice. So we do have a lot of Spadef investment for that. And then we're creeping once again max speed Suicune to be able to either Toxic that thing, or if it starts setting up, then I can Dragon Tail it out. And then finally we just have Ice Beam, because I don't really need Dragon Stab. The only thing I would need it for is Latias, but I get Ice Beam, which is a slightly more reliable stab than Dragon. It's more reliable than Dragon Pulse in this case, since it also doesn't grant Tapu Bulu a free switch in, and then at the same time, I would argue it's more reliable than Draco Meteor, just because very clearly Registeel switches in on this. Even like Earth Power from this set doesn't do too much damage to especially defensive Registeel, which is where I'm gonna have to get aggressive I'm gonna have to get aggressive in calling his switches, especially into the Registeel. I'd be very surprised if it doesn't show up. Even though, like, I can sort of hopefully handle it. Like, again, Taunt Super Fangs on Crobat seems good. Obviously, Mienshao should be able to break it pretty easily with High Jump Kick. No, excuse me. Oh, jeez. No Crocodile this week because there is that Tapu Bulu. Even though Crook does get Sludge Bomb, and I thought about it, just like with the grassy terrain, it's really annoying to weaken my Earthquakes. And as well, excuse me. And then as well, I did think about having that be the Choice Scarfer of the matchup, to be able to have something faster than Lopunny, but the problem is there's a lot of things on Ben's team that can very much take advantage of a locked-in Crocodile, depending on what I lock myself into. If Ben has his Tapu Bulu out and predicts Sludge Bomb, then he can switch into the Registeel and literally get a free switch in, and then set up on rocks because I'm locked in with Scarf. Zapdos and Latias switch in on Earthquakes really easily. Oh, bless me. I apologize. And then even Mega Lopunny, if he gets aggressive, can easily switch in on... or if I get... get locked into Knockoff, then Lopunny can switch in after that, which is really annoying. So, like, honestly, there was a few other Scarfers, because, like, the three best Scarfers on my team, being realistic, are Crocodile, Rotom, and Mienshao. Not necessarily in that order, but just like in general. Oh, excuse me. And yeah, like I thought about Choice Scarf Mienshao. Really wanted the breaking power of Life Orb. Kind of the same thing with Rotom. I really wanted the breaking power of Specs. Otherwise, honestly, my issue is if Modest Scarf Thunderbolt would have been able to 2-hit KO Suicune like after a Calm Mind, like as in like I would Thunderbolt his Suicune and then he goes for Calm Mind. My Thunderbolt then isn't a guarantee KO after. It is a roll. If it was a guarantee KO, I would honestly probably just be Scarf Rotom, but maybe I should be Scarf Rotom. I don't know. Honestly, I'm just kind of fed up with building at this point, and I'm just going to kind of go with what I have, which is kind of leads into my last Pokemon. This was a Pokemon that kind of came to my mind as I was building, as like I said, Registeel switches in onto Kyurem for pretty free, so having a Azumarill to sort of take advantage of Registeel switching in is kind of where I want to be for the match. As I'll be able to sub up and either dodge Toxic or like just kind of set up in front of his Stealth Rocks if he chooses to go for that. And then we're running Power Up Punch with leftovers because since we are running absolute max HP, having 404, our subs will have 101 HP, which means that unless he's like super duper attack invested, oh my goodness, then Registeel should not be able to break our sub at full. He can't break it with Seismic Toss. Iron Head doesn't break it. The only thing I didn't check is Thunder Punch, but I'm not sure if he's going to bring Thunder Punch on his Registeel. Just off the top of my head, he'll probably want like Rocks, Seismic Toss, potentially Toxic for either my Mew or more specifically my Rotom, and then he probably wants a Stab to be able to he probably wants Iron Head to properly be able to switch in and threaten out my Kyurem. So if that's his set, then he can't break my sub in one hit, which means I can sub and get a Power Up Punch off. And then honestly, if I'm behind a sub, I can at least dent something really hard. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Azumarill's like bulk matchup, other than maybe the Latias if he's not Z Electric, I can't really pivot into an extreme amount, but hopefully I just have enough natural bulk to be able to like take one hit with the sub gone and then just fire off a hit of my own. So yeah, again, I was kind of like, I wasn't sure if this set was really good, but again, like, in my opinion, my matchup is really horrible, so at this point I was kind of fed up. I thought about a few other things, but I'm gonna kind of leave off the table just in case we ever play again. I don't know if we'll ever play again. It's kind of tough considering how the playoffs work. But yeah, this Azumarill set looked cool, and I thought if anything could break shit, it was definitely this. So I'm going to try to give this a shot. So yeah, that's the team we're bringing. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comment section down below. Again, like, this is a huge game just because of like the circumstances of the game. Even though I really don't like my matchup, and I'm still going to give it my all, obviously. Like, I mean, that's kind of a given. I think anyone should always strive for that kind of crap. But yeah, I'm rambling now. Oh, by the way, I didn't say this last time, but I linked Brendan's stuff in the description. I will also link Ben's channel in the description down below, as right now he's currently uploading Hive games. He said he wanted to upload UPA. I'm not sure if he's gotten to that yet, but yeah, I'll link Ben's stuff down below. Go check him out. And yeah, keep your guys' eyes out on the channel tomorrow for when the match versus Ben goes live. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.